Hey everyone. I wanted to hop on here and wish you a happy equinox and remind you to take a moment for yourself today. Even if it's just a single breath, I wanted to invite you to connect with yourself and to set an intention because this is an auspicious moment. This is when the sun and the earth are in alignment and there is an equal balance between day and night. Hey, Mom. This is the third time I'm making this video because we've been having some tech problems. So if you could just shoot a thumbs up or I hear you or write something into the comments that says that the sound is okay, I'd love to proceed because today I have a really special topic I want to discuss with you. Today I want to talk about ritual. I want to talk about ritual and I want to talk about prayer. And I want to talk about the opportunity for each and every one of us to connect with our deepest truth and call on a life of deep meaning. I have seen time and time again that the joy we experience, the value we experience, the meaning we experience in our life is because of our willingness to show up for each and every moment. And that the more energy we can bring to whether it's a moment or a dream or a vision or a desire, that's like flaming our inner fire and allowing any spark of inspiration to become an entire life. And I'm going to say hi again. So I'm hoping that means that you guys can hear me just fine. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Katie Armstrong. I'm the founder of a clothing brand called the Om Collection. I'm also the founder of another project called Inspired Living. InspiredLiving.coach is where you can find all of my inspirational content. I talk mostly about how to bring mindfulness into your life, how to feel physically embodied through yoga and fitness, and also how to build a life of purpose and meaning through different life skills, life and business skills. It sounds like we are good to go on sound. And again, I'm so sorry for any tech issues if you guys were on the different versions of this, but it has been important for me to keep trying to bring this message today. This message of prayer and this message of ceremony, and to invite you to bring the sacred into even simple moments in your life. So let's start by defining ritual. What is ritual? Ritual is basically anything that you do that you are bringing an intention or meaning into. So many of us have morning routines. Before I had a baby, I did yoga and I meditated and I journaled and I prayed every single morning, and I did it for hours and it was glorious. But now that I have a baby and I have, time is very, very precious, my ritual time is more limited. And even now I hear my daughter kind of calling to me in the background. She's with her dad right now. And yet it is important to me on this auspicious day to set an intent, to plant a seed for the future, to allow this time as we enter into the more dark chapter of the year and reflect on, what soul work do I want to do during the winter. It's so hard for me to hear her cry and not go try to hold her, but it is also important for me to be here in this space. And it's in setting this intention to be present for my online community and to bring some of my gifts forward that allows me to have the perseverance to continue trying when things are difficult. And I wanted to talk about ceremony and ritual and prayer today because one of the seeds I planted this time last year is starting to germinate and starting to come through the soil. And I wasn't sure it was going to. I had a bit of a crisis of faith these last couple years through COVID. I became a mom. I've been in full-blown quarantine and we've had no childcare, and a lot of the plans that I had put in place got stopped in their tracks. And even though I had the perspective to know this was an isolated point in time, I lost a lot of my personal resources, and in that I lost a little bit of connection to spirit. And I would say that having that challenge, that personal challenge, and then returning to the deep beliefs I held and to very specifically, like, even in a single moment, bringing ritual into my life and allowing that to bring both clarity and ultimately actually some of the germination and the sprouting and the growing and the blossoming of those early visions. I just wanted to come say, hey, like, are you having a crisis of faith? Or are you feeling called to something new? Or are you just interested in knowing if there's like a deeper, more fulfilling way of being in the world? Like, if so, I am giving you a personal invitation to create some ceremony and some ritual in your life. And here's the thing, if you've never done this, you can do it about anything and you can do it in your own way. And that's what's so magical about it, right? So there are certain ceremonies that we are accustomed to in Western culture. Weddings are a ceremony that, has a certain tradition to it, and some people do it in a more traditional way, some people do it in a more avant-garde way. Funerals, these are like major momentous events, but what if more of your life can have that same level of depth and meaning? So I ask you, is there something that you are trying to call in? Is there something you're trying to let go? Those are two really big ones. Is there something you're deeply grateful for? Is there something happening right now that you want to just like solidify in your soul? The last really deep ritual I was able to put together that I thought about and I planned for quite a while and was when I was very, very pregnant, and it turns out, a week away from having my baby, and I pulled together a blanket that I consider to be sacred, and I pulled together some of my favorite, most powerful crystals, and I gathered a bundle of sage that I had collected with my husband after our wedding, and I went to one of my favorite spots on the side of a mountain. And granted, I was very pregnant. I was like waddling. My husband had to practically carry me. And I burned the sage, and I invited my daughter in, and I said a prayer for like safe passage. And now that was gorgeous and beautiful, and it lasted for hours, and it meant a lot to me, and I felt like that carried me through the final stages of the pregnancy and into the labor and all of these things. But the reality is, right now it would be very difficult for me to carve out 3 hours for myself and to plan that and to pull these things together. And so the question for me this last year is, how do I find that depth of meaning and that deep soul connection to allow for a sacred moment to happen when I've got a 1-year-old crying in the background and no childcare and all of this stuff? And what I can promise you is that if you're willing, you can have a true ritual in a single breath. And if you are feeling lost, if you can just stop for a second and connect, say it out loud, spirit, say it inside, write it down, whatever it is for you. I need guidance, or I want clarity about, or spirit, I am calling this thing in, or this thing is no longer serving me, I am letting it go. That can become a powerful ceremony and ritual. And if you want to weave it into every day, if you want to weave it into multiple times during a day, or if it's something you just want to do once, whatever is true for you, if you can bring all of yourself to it, you will see a powerful, powerful response from the universe. I feel so much sadness and grief because I know so many people over the last year or year and a half have had things that really matter to them vanish. And even I've felt some of that grief myself, maybe a little bit more than some. But what I also know is that the world is shuffling right now. There's a massive turnaround, and while a lot of that shows up as like challenge, like cost of living is up, people have lost jobs, they've known people that were sick, they're sick and tired of being stuck at home. if you can connect to your deepest truth right now, if you can plant those seeds of change, if you can really get clear on your divine purpose, and I'd invite you to like consecrate it by performing a ritual to like honor that clarity or honor that desire for clarity, magic will happen. And if you can hold that faith long enough to take the first step and the second step and start building that vision that you see, you know, and the first step of the vision is asking for clarity. The second step of the vision is receiving. And then all of a sudden there's the next step and the next step, and you are walking that new path. I truly believe that this is one of the most ripe times, and not just the equinox this year, but this is a powerful time because of so much change happening in the world for you to establish what's next for you. So I will be really transparent with you. As the third time that I've recorded this video, different things have blossomed through it. And I have a feeling that even over the next few days, there are going to be pieces from each one of the times that I've recorded this video, that nuggets of deep wisdom will come to the surface that may or may not have made it in this video. And so I do inspire you I do request and invite you to join me on my newsletter. InspiredLiving.coach is where you can sign up for that, because I will be allowing some of those to come back through and continue to inspire you to join me on the path of connecting with the soul, connecting with the spirit, connecting with self, and building a life that is congruent with that. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Happy equinox. And I do sincerely hope, even if it's just for a single breath, that you take a moment to ask yourself, where would you like me to go? What would you like me to do? What would you like me to say, and to whom? Calling in that clarity from spirit and start building a life of inspiration and purpose. Thanks so much, you guys.